benefit is to the end customer. So the idea is to give end customers a choice, and as a consequence, force operators to give customers a better offering. Yes, actually, you would have to look at it country by country. On average, I would say yes. In all countries where number portability has been good defined and has a working process, the customer gets a benefit. Yeah. I mean, if I go to a new country where number portability is introduced, there are sometimes some misconceptions, and the central reference database is one of the misconceptions. So, yeah, the plain vanilla number portability implementation we see these days uses a central reference database, decentralized real-time databases, and direct routing between networks. I'm tempted to say that this model is applicable to all markets, even to a country with just 2 operators, if at some point in time there are plans to extend that. Because if you do a specialized process that works for 2, it will be an entry barrier for new operators. Another topic that we see more and more often is that international carriers want to do direct routing. So they want to avoid indirect routing to save on interconnect charges, and so also those operators need to have an equal access to data, and the best way to realize that is using a central reference database. Yes. So basically, yeah, it's a reality, and if you look at the seminar here, even tiny countries or territories like Guernsey and Jersey with a population of 140,000 customers have introduced a central reference database. We had a lady from Macedonia speaking, and I think they had found also very efficient ways to have a central reference database without implying a huge overhead and cost. Yeah, I think you basically stated that the important thing is that you have a competitive environment and a way where the operators can compete in a fair manner. These days, number portability is reality. It's technically mature. So actually, sooner or later it will come. And if I were the regulator, I would start the process and introduce it early on and leave it to the operators when they see the right time to use that tool to compete. Yeah, just the reason you change your transport to IP doesn't change much. Basically, if you introduce number portability in signaling, you change the routing paradigm from routing on range basis to routing on individual numbers. And that is the same. It's true if you have IP transport or traditional TDM access. In general, in the networks, we see a trend that more and more networks change from ranged routing to individual number routing. And that's actually a trend independent of number portability. And we see even more also further attributes that you would use for routing, like prepaid versus postpaid or a class of service. All of which can be done using the same infrastructure, and then number portability becomes just one additional service in the network. Depending on how you have implemented number portability, it can add complexity. If you have chosen a good approach, it doesn't really make a huge difference. It's a number that you have to treat in different call scenarios and to come up with the correct routing. And then an MVNO is just another destination, and which may be, within the same network, or for certain call flows, dedicated hardware. For us on the signaling side, we need to find the right network element to route to. So therefore, MVNOs do not complicate the implementation.
What's the cost of changing numbers?
Yeah. I mean, you really have to look at the particular setup. I would assume that for the most part, the hosting network would provide number portability as a service for MVNOs, We have seen a couple of MVNOs investing in an own infrastructure for number portability, but it's rather the exception than the rule.